As the morning light filtered in, I stirred from sleep, my body a little achy from a series of vigorous massage sessions. Yet, amidst the discomfort, there lingered a profound sense of satisfaction. For several years, I have been practicing as a massage therapist, and with each new client and every unique challenge, I have gained valuable insights. For me, massage transcended mere pain relief. It was a means to help individuals reconnect with their vitality, to feel unburdened and liberated from discomfort. That morning, I was blissfully unaware that a single phone call was on the verge of transforming my entire world. As my phone buzzed to life, the unfamiliar number didn't register at first. However, the moment I glimpsed the name displayed, my heart raced with unexpected excitement. It was Laura, a friend of my mother. I was familiar with her to a considerable extent. She had consistently been a familiar presence in our home, yet always at arm's length. She was a few years my mother's senior and always had the vibe of being an older sister, to me. The divorce she went through a few years back had stirred quite a conversation within our family, yet I had always kept a distance from her personal affairs. "Hello, Kevin." Her voice resonated through the phone, steady yet tinged with a trace of fatigue. "I recognize your expertise. I've been experiencing some back pain for a few days, and I've heard wonderful things about you. I believe you might be able to assist me." Her reaching out took me by surprise, given our sparse conversations in the past. Nevertheless, I gathered my thoughts and responded promptly. "Absolutely, Laura. I can certainly assist you with your back. When will you be available to come in?" She mentioned that she would be free in an hour. I promptly set about arranging the massage area. I approached the situation with a sense of uncertainty, yet I consistently aimed to maintain a serene and professional atmosphere, prepared for whatever might arise. I had provided massages to athletes, office workers, and individuals dealing with stress, but this experience with my mom's friend was entirely different. It seemed somewhat out of the ordinary, yet I had no intention of rejecting her. Upon her arrival, I was taken aback by the ease with which she carried herself. She donned a modest dark dress, yet her appearance belied her age, as she moved with a serene assurance. I invited her to take a seat and unwind before I started inquiring about the details of her back pain. "It's manageable," she clarified while easing into the massage chair, "but it does throb when I remain seated for too long or lift something weighty. There's an unrelenting sense of unease that lingers." "I comprehend," I replied, taking a moment to scrutinize her back. "It would be ideal for us to schedule a series of 5 sessions. This approach allows us to precisely identify the issue and achieve optimal outcomes." Laura consented, and I commenced the initial session. I typically start with some gentle warming-up techniques, but with Laura, I was particularly attentive to each movement. As I focused on her shoulders and back, it became evident that she was gradually unwinding, releasing the tension she had been holding on to. She began to inhale more deeply, releasing the burdens that had settled on her mind and body. We had a brief conversation during the session. She revealed insights about her career and the transformation in her life following her divorce. It was the initial moment we truly shared our thoughts and feelings on such an intimate scale. She reflected on how the separation had transformed her view of life and connections with others. I listened with genuine curiosity, yet I couldn't help but notice how her body reacted to the massage. With every session, I sensed the bond between us deepening, yet I never anticipated it would evolve into something beyond a mere professional exchange. I was merely attempting to uplift her spirits. Yet, as I sank my hands into the contours of her back, an undeniable sense lingered that this was merely the onset of an unforeseen journey, one that neither of us could have anticipated. Upon concluding the session, I resolved to adhere to the plan. 5 sessions. She would need to return, and I would have the opportunity to assist her further. Yet, I understood, beneath the surface, that this had transcended the mere act of healing her back. A change was beginning to unfold between us, and it wasn't solely the tension in her spine that was easing. At this moment, I concentrated on maintaining a professional demeanor, yet the escalating tension was impossible to overlook, especially the intrigue reflected in her gaze whenever our eyes met. It was a flicker, an uncertainty that beckoned me to delve deeper, yet it was an undeniable presence. Unbeknownst to me, this was merely the start of something greater. The interval between our initial meeting and the subsequent one seemed to elongate beyond its true span. I found myself reflecting on our discussion during the massage, how Laura had shared insights about her life and her previous relationships. To my surprise, her words held me in a spell, and I caught myself pondering her more often than was perhaps wise. I continually reminded myself that it was simply an aspect of being an effective guide, of truly hearing those who seek my support, of providing them with a sanctuary to express themselves. Yet, beneath it all, there lingered a subtle hint of something deeper. As the day of our second session approached, I found myself readying for a formal meeting. I had to keep my mind focused and disciplined. This was a task, and my purpose was to assist her. As the hour approached, a sense of anticipation started to swell within me. It had evolved beyond the mere act of massage. It revolved around the bond we were cultivating, and I found myself uncertain about its direction. As Laura entered my studio, a surge of warmth washed over me. She appeared even more luminous than when I had first laid eyes on her. Her smile radiated warmth, exuding a relaxed charm, and there was a newfound grace in her movements. She had evidently been looking after herself, and it wasn't solely her back that was improving. It seemed that her entire presence had become gentler since our initial meeting. "Hello, Kevin." She welcomed me with a smile, her voice carrying that familiar weariness, yet also a hint of relief. "Since our initial session, I've noticed a significant improvement in how I feel. It's remarkable how significantly the discomfort has subsided." I nodded, attempting to conceal the smile that was pulling at the edges of my lips. "It's wonderful to hear that. Are you prepared for the next challenge?" "Absolutely." She responded with a mischievous wink, and I sensed my heart racing. Was that a deliberate flirtation, or was I overanalyzing the situation? I guided her to the massage table and invited her to recline. As she moved, I observed the graceful way her body shifted, the delicate play of her muscles, beneath her attire. It was almost mesmerizing, and I found myself needing to shake my head to dispel the fog of my thoughts. "Back to the same place as before?" I inquired as I took my place at the head of the table. "Indeed," she remarked, her tone unwavering. "It's largely the same space, just a bit more confined today." I began the session gently, reminiscent of my initial experience, focusing on her neck and shoulders. As I proceeded, I couldn't help but observe how she appeared to unwind more swiftly this time. The tension that once defined our interactions began to dissolve, giving way to an unarticulated connection that lingered in the air. Her body reacted to the caress, and with every movement, every stroke, I sensed a profound bond growing between us. "It feels good," she whispered, her tone gentle. I was unaware of the extent of the tension residing in my body until you began to address it. Many of us seem to bear stress without even being aware of it. I responded, maintaining a cheerful tone, particularly given all that's happening in our lives. She released a gentle chuckle, a noise that brought an unexpected sense of warmth. Indeed, life can feel overwhelming at times. As I persisted in my efforts, I began to observe beyond the mere physical alleviation in her form. In her eyes lay a profound depth of feeling, a reservoir of unspoken sentiments waiting to be unveiled. And I came to understand that, in certain respects, my perception of her was starting to shift. I had transcended the role of a therapist. I became an observer of her journey, her challenges, and her remarkable strength. She was grappling not only with the back pain but with a myriad of other challenges as well. "Could you share more about what transpired following your divorce?" I inquired, aiming to maintain the flow of our conversation while remaining attentive to the massage. She paused briefly, then started to speak, her voice softer this time. "It was challenging. You truly don't realize the extent of your dependence on someone until their absence is felt. It has certainly been a path of finding oneself anew, I suppose." "I can envision," I responded, attempting to convey understanding. "Parting ways is always a challenge, particularly after investing so many years alongside another person." She nodded, a subtle smile playing on her lips. "Indeed, I'm beginning to find value in the little moments now. I truly appreciate how much better I feel after our sessions together. I returned the smile, a gentle warmth enveloping me. That's my purpose. As I delved further into her back, the tension started to dissolve beneath my touch. Yet, there was an additional change that had occurred, an implicit recognition, a profound depth of bond. The flow of our conversations became increasingly effortless and intimate as time went on. It became evident that we were both revealing ourselves in ways we had not foreseen. The remainder of our time together unfolded in a soothing quiet, punctuated only by her soft sighs of relief as I focused on her back. Once it concluded, I assisted her in sitting up, and she offered me a thankful smile. "I can't fathom how you manage it," she remarked. "I feel incredibly unburdened. It feels as though a heavy burden from the last few months has finally been released." "It's essential to prioritize your well-being," I responded. "And ensuring your return, so we can thoroughly explore everything together." She acknowledged with a nod, rising to her feet and extending her limbs. "I will certainly return. I eagerly anticipate the next one." As she departed, an unsettling sensation lingered within me, hinting that a shift was occurring in our relationship. It wasn't solely the massage sessions, it encompassed everything else as well. A change had occurred, and I found myself uncertain about my readiness to confront its implications. However, it was evident that this situation would soon transcend mere professionalism. The intervals between sessions felt like an eternity. The moments from the last session kept swirling in my mind, replaying over and over. Her voice, her smile, the way she appeared to release the burden she had been shouldering for ages. I was certain this was my calling. I understood it was meant to be formal. Yet, as the days went by, I found it increasingly difficult to overlook the transformation of my emotions. Throughout my career, I have consistently managed to maintain control over my emotions. I had encountered a diverse range of clients, from anxious newcomers to high-achieving athletes, and I always maintained focus on the task before me. However, Laura stood apart. There was an undeniable quality about her. Her vulnerability, her warmth, and the way she shared herself with me that first day made it increasingly difficult to maintain a strictly professional boundary. I found myself anticipating her arrival for the third session, my mind swirling with thoughts that were best left unexamined. Just as I completed the task of tidying the room, the sound of the doorbell echoed through the air. I inhaled deeply, readying my mind to re-engage with the flow of my tasks. I absolutely did not want my feelings to take control. As I opened the door, Laura appeared before me, her beauty as striking as always, yet a hint of fatigue lingered in her gaze. Her attire was relaxed, a cozy sweater paired with jeans, yet it was the poise with which she moved that truly captivated me. A subtle change in her posture emerged, radiating confidence and a sense of ease. "Hey Kevin," she greeted me, her voice as inviting as ever. "How are you feeling today?" "I'm doing well. What about you?" I inquired, compelling myself to concentrate on the matter before me. She smiled, a touch bashfully. "I've been feeling fantastic, but I believe it's time for another round of exploration. I wish to preserve the advancements we've achieved." I returned the smile. "I proposed the 5 sessions for that reason. Let's ensure your complete recovery." As we entered the massage room side by side, an unmistakable tension enveloped us, instantly recognizable. It wasn't merely the tightness in her back that I intended to address, it was the silent strain lingering between us. It lingered in the air whenever she glanced my way, each time my fingers brushed against her shoulder, and in every fleeting moment our gazes intertwined. It was understated, yet unmistakable. "Do you feel at ease?" I inquired, shattering the stillness as she reclined on the table. "Indeed," she responded, her tone gentle. "I've been reflecting on these sessions, quite a bit. Indeed, the extent of their support has been significant, and I now feel much more inclined to express myself." I nodded, striving to concentrate on the task before me. "That's the essence of it all. Tranquility. Restoration. Releasing." As I started to work on her shoulders, I observed a shift in her demeanor. She exuded a calm resilience in that moment. There was an essence beyond the mere physical relief she was feeling. It felt as though she had been burdened for ages, and now, with every session, she was gradually peeling away the layers of that heaviness. In those fleeting instances, as she lay there exposed and trusting, I sensed a stirring deep within me. "How have you been faring beyond our sessions?" I inquired, making an effort to maintain a cheerful tone, striving to prevent my thoughts from drifting away. "I've been dedicating a significant amount of my time to my work," she stated, her tone unwavering. "However, I've been making an effort to focus on my own interests again. For an extended period, I've been deeply immersed in fulfilling the needs of others. I lost sight of how to nurture myself." I took a brief moment to concentrate on her back, my hands gliding over the top muscles. "It's essential to take that step. You truly deserve this." She paused for a moment, and then I sensed her movement, just a slight shift. "I believe I've devoted an excessive amount of time reflecting on what has already transpired. Reflecting on all that has slipped away from me. Your presence opens my eyes to the endless possibilities that await me. Not only with the massage, but with my entire life." Her words resonated with me in a way I couldn't ignore. She had moved beyond discussing her back. She was sharing her own story. Concerning the individual she was uncovering anew. I felt the urge to provide her with additional reassurance, yet I understood the importance of maintaining a professional demeanor. My hands glided over her back, pressing gently to alleviate the tightness. Yet within, my mind was in a frenzy. The atmosphere surrounding us was heavy with emotions left unsaid. It transcended the physical realm. A bond existed between us that was impossible to ignore. And yet, we both appeared reluctant to delve into it. Upon concluding the session, the heavy silence that lingered between us became palpable. I had assisted her in a tangible way, yet emotionally, we found ourselves navigating unfamiliar ground. I felt compelled to express my awareness of the escalating tension. Yet, the words eluded me. "Are you feeling better?" I inquired, my voice slightly raspy. Laura gradually propped herself up, extending her spine with a gentle stretch. "Significantly improved. This session was precisely what I was looking for." "Thanks, Kevin." I acquiesced, managing a smile. "This is my profession. Your advancement is commendable." She rose to her feet. Her gaze held on to mine a moment longer than expected. "I'll see you for the next one," she said, her voice, now softer, tinged with a hint of uncertainty. "I'll be prepared," I responded, although I couldn't quite tell if I was referring to the massage or something altogether different. As she departed, I lingered for a moment, attempting to comprehend all that had just unfolded. Our bond was unmistakable. While the allure of exploration beckoned to me, I was acutely aware of the perilous nature of the terrain ahead. She was a friend of my mother. I had vowed to maintain my professionalism without any distractions. Yet, the way she gazed at me, the way she revealed herself, transcended the mere act of the massage. It delved into matters of profound significance. I was uncertain about how much longer I could maintain the facade that it didn't exist. The days preceding the fourth session passed in a haze. Each time I shut my eyes, Laura filled my thoughts, her laughter, the way she had revealed herself during our last meeting, and how my hands had rested on her back just a moment longer than needed. I attempted to cast aside the distracting thoughts, striving to concentrate on my tasks, yet it proved to be quite challenging. Each time I encountered her, it seemed as though we were both inching toward an unspoken understanding that lingered just beyond our grasp. As she reached out to arrange the upcoming session, the strain in her voice was palpable. It was a departure from the usual serene and self-assured Laura I knew. This time felt distinct, imbued with a sense of delicacy. "I'll be there at 2:00, she said, her voice softer than usual. "Is that still acceptable?" "Certainly," I responded, making an effort to maintain a cheerful tone. "I will be prepared for your arrival." As the moment approached, I experienced a blend of excitement and apprehension. I had devoted countless hours attempting to persuade myself that this was merely a professional connection, that my purpose was solely to assist her with her back pain. Nothing else. Yet, each time I believed I had it managed, those emotions would come flooding back. As Laura stepped through the door that afternoon, there was something about her that seemed transformed. Her eyes carried a weariness, and she appeared more uncertain than she had in the past. She wore a flowing blouse paired with leggings. Yet, an unsettling aura surrounded her, as if a burden rested heavily upon her shoulders. "Greetings, Kevin." She welcomed me, her tone carrying a hint of regret. "I trust I'm not causing any disruption." I offered a gentle smile, aiming to soothe her nerves. "No, you're not bothering me at all. Your timing is impeccable. Step right in." She entered the room, and I observed the delicate way she navigated the space, as if treading on fragile shells. It was evident that something was amiss. I found myself questioning whether it was all in my head, yet there was an undeniable sense that our sessions were beginning to influence her in ways we had not anticipated. After a brief pause, I inquired, "How are you feeling? Are there any problems with your back?" She shrugged, the gesture appearing almost instinctive. "It's an improvement, yet I'm uncertain. Lately, I found myself reflecting deeply on various matters. Who we are. Concerning this entire matter." I arched an eyebrow, uncertain of her intended direction. "What do you mean by all of this?" She paused, her gaze drifting away from me as she began to speak. "This bond we share. The emotions that wash over me in this place. It's more than just a massage, Kevin. I'm at a loss for words to convey it. Yet, there's a distinct change in our connection at this moment." I found myself at a loss for words. My heart raced, and the room seemed to shrink, enveloping me in a cocoon of intimacy. I made every effort to uphold boundaries and ensure a professional atmosphere. Yet, when she articulated what I had been quietly experiencing, it felt as though a burden had been released from my chest. "I've been sensing it as well," I confessed in a hushed tone. I was uncertain about whether to speak up, yet it seems we both recognize that something has shifted. "I wish to avoid any discomfort, Laura. My intention is solely to assist you." Her eyes locked onto mine, filled with a piercing intensity. "Yet, it seems there's more to it than merely the massage, isn't there?" "It's clear that it isn't. I'm uncertain if this is the appropriate emotion to experience, yet I cannot ignore it. And I feel a sense of fear." I was at a loss for words in response to that. Her candor was simultaneously a comfort and a weight. I was uncertain about the direction of this journey, yet one truth stood clear in my mind. It had evolved beyond merely her back. It transcended mere assistance for her. There was an undeniable connection between us, a feeling that intensified each time we found ourselves in the same space. "Ultimately, I believe we should exercise caution," I remarked at last, attempting to center myself. "This presents quite a challenge, Laura. We find ourselves navigating unfamiliar territory together." She nodded with a gentle deliberation, her gaze becoming tender. "I understand, but my emotions are beyond my control. I refuse to continue the charade that everything is fine when it clearly isn't." The atmosphere between us was charged, heavy with unspoken words. We were at a standstill, uncertain of the next steps, yet fully aware that we could no longer pretend it didn't exist. Following a lengthy silence, I took a moment to clear my throat. Why not approach it one step at a time? We'll complete the sessions, and if circumstances shift, we'll address it at that time. For the time being, my priority is to ensure you receive the relief you seek. Her smile was subtle, yet it concealed a deeper sorrow. I desire that as well. I find myself at a loss regarding the dynamics unfolding between us. The turmoil was evident in her gaze. The identical turmoil that was surging within me. We had already stepped over a boundary, even if we hadn't completely recognized it yet. The point of no return had been reached. With that, we commenced the session, but this time, the emphasis extended beyond merely the muscles in her back. It existed in the void that lay between us. The silent strain that lingered with each brush of skin. I endeavored to maintain a sense of professionalism in my movements, yet it proved to be quite challenging. Each time my fingers grazed her skin, it seemed as though a profound connection was awakening. Something beyond our grasp. As the session drew to a close, an awkward silence enveloped us, leaving both of us at a loss for words. Silence enveloped us as she rose and put on her clothes. The familiar teasing, the effortless dialogue we once enjoyed, was nowhere to be found. It seemed as though we were teetering on the brink of an elusive something, just beyond our grasp. "Thank you once more, Kevin," she murmured gently. Her voice, nearly timid at this moment. "I will return for the final session." I nodded, a weight settling in my chest. "I will remain present." "Wishing you well, Laura." As she departed, I remained in the stillness of the room, contemplating how much longer I could maintain the facade that this was solely about mending her back. The palpable tension between us lingered, refusing to dissipate. I found myself on the edge, uncertain if retreat was still an option. The final massage session lingered in the air between us, a palpable tension that seemed to envelop the room. A conclusion that caught us both off guard, leaving us unprepared. For days, I had been pondering all that had transpired. Concerning Laura. The silent phrases lingering in the atmosphere surrounding us. Yet, I remained uncertain about the next steps to take. We had been treading a delicate path, and I found myself uncertain about what confronting that path might entail. As the day of the final session drew near, a knot began to tighten in my stomach. A blend of excitement and fear filled the air. On one side, I understood this would mark the conclusion of our professional connection. Yet, conversely, it seemed like the dawn of an inevitable journey for both of us. Upon Laura's arrival, a distinct change was palpable. Her typical poise and composure gave way to a rawer, more hesitant side. It felt as though she had been meticulously maintaining her composure, biding her time for the perfect opportunity to voice her thoughts, and now that moment had finally come. She entered silently, her gaze locking onto mine with a fervor that sent my heart into a frenzy. It was evident that she was concealing something. An essential matter. She paused briefly before finding her words. "Kevin," she started gently. "Before we dive in, I believe it's important to have a conversation." The sound of her voice made my heart race. This was the moment. The dialogue I had been apprehensive about, yet profoundly yearning for. "Certainly," I replied, gesturing for her to take a seat. "What thoughts are swirling in your head?" Laura inhaled deeply. Her gaze was fixed on the earth beneath her. Lately, I found myself reflecting deeply on our journey together and how much has transformed throughout these sessions. I'm not sure if this is the perfect moment, but I can no longer act as if it doesn't hold significance. The gravity of her words resonated within me, causing a knot to form in my stomach. "Laura, there's no need for you to clarify. I experienced it as well. However, we have both been diligent in maintaining a professional demeanor. I prefer to keep things simple." She shook her head, a wistful smile playing at the corners of her lips. "It's already quite intricate, Kevin. I understand your efforts to maintain clarity, yet I must admit that I've sensed a connection between us for some time now. I can no longer turn a blind eye to it. My feelings for you run deeper than they perhaps ought to." Her words struck me with an intensity one hadn't anticipated. For weeks, I endeavored to persuade myself that I was maintaining a sense of professionalism, that my intentions were solely focused on alleviating her back pain. Yet, beneath the surface, I had always sensed that there was something deeper at play. With her confession now laid bare, there was no turning back. "Your feelings matter to me as well, Laura," I confessed in a hushed tone. "However, I'm uncertain about what this is. I'm uncertain whether this is an opportunity we can pursue or merely a transient emotion that will dissipate after the sessions conclude." Laura lifted her gaze to meet mine then. Her gaze was a blend of hesitation and desire. I'm at a loss as well. Yet, I cannot ignore the desire to delve into this, whatever it may be. I want to stop pondering the possibilities of what might have happened. The quiet lingered, heavy with the significance of what she had said. The atmosphere in the room changed, a palpable tension signaling that the walls we had meticulously constructed over the last few weeks were beginning to fall apart. In that instant, it dawned on me that my fear of what lay ahead mirrored hers. Yet, I was acutely aware that I couldn't leave without discovering the potential that lay ahead for us. I moved closer to her, my heart racing in my chest. I lack all the answers, Laura. However, I also wish to avoid leaving this incomplete. In that fleeting instant, it seemed as though time itself had come to a standstill. All that had lingered in silence between us, all that had been simmering, was now laid bare. Retracing steps was not an option. I believe we should approach this gradually, I remarked, my tone gentle yet resolute. We must take our time and be truthful with ourselves regarding our desires. However, I'm open to exploring the possibilities ahead. Laura's expression softened, revealing a blend of relief and gratitude that illuminated her features. I am ready, Kevin. I simply couldn't depart without understanding your feelings. I nodded, thoughts swirling in my head. This was bound to be a challenge, and the destination remained uncertain. However, I could no longer maintain the facade that this wasn't genuine. She spoke, her voice quivering just a bit as she shattered the stillness. Shall we conclude the session? For a brief instant, I paused, uncertain whether proceeding with the massage was the appropriate choice. Ultimately, I acquiesced, aware that our professional connection had reached its conclusion the instant we acknowledged our emotions. This session marks the end of one chapter, yet it simultaneously heralds the beginning of another. We transitioned to the massage table, the gravity of our conversation lingering in the air between us. As I focused on her back, the motion seemed distinct. It transcended mere physicality. It was about the bond we shared, the way my hands glided over her skin, and how we both appeared to inhale and exhale in perfect harmony. Laura shut her eyes, her body unwinding beneath my touch, yet I could sense the emotion swirling within her. In that fleeting moment, she had lowered her defenses, and I realized she was confiding in me beyond the mere ache of her body. The session unfolded in quietude, yet the quiet was no longer unsettling. It was a collective awareness, a reciprocal recognition of the connection we were starting to establish. As we completed our moment, we both sat upright, and I noticed the raw openness reflected in her gaze. She had transcended the role of a mere client. She was someone I held dear, and I felt a strong desire to delve into the connection we had begun to forge. I'm really happy we had this conversation, Laura murmured, shattering the quiet. I echoed the sentiment, a sense of relief washing over me. We lingered in that moment, uncertainty hanging between us, yet I could glimpse the potential in her gaze, the glimmer of hope that perhaps this was the dawn of something extraordinary. Looking forward to seeing you soon? I inquired, my tone wavering yet filled with optimism. Her smile blossomed, a gentle warmth illuminating her features once more. I appreciate that. As she stepped through the doorway, I remained behind, enveloped in solitude, sensing that the journey had truly begun. No matter what lay ahead, I was certain we were prepared to confront it together. In unity.